Rock and roll, come on, y'all. Your folks say that you got it every day by 10. If you're out on a date and you're bringing home the lady, it's a sin.
Coach's Corner with Coach Heck and the infamous Coach Patrick King. You're stuck with me, man.
I'm stuck.
You are stuck with me. I ain't going anywhere.
There's a lot of people that are jealous of me for sitting here, and there's some people that there's a little sympathy going on at the same time.
There's more people that are sympathetic to you. I'm just saying that much right now. Ron, you know you're second in the state in tees.
When I go talk to Turkovich at the scores
Get a
table,
picture.
I said, get as many pictures as you can.
And you ain't that good. The scouting report said you were pretty good. You ain't that good. Oh, man. Are you kidding me? We are back.
Welcome. It is Monday.
It is Monday night on a cold, blustery day in northern Indiana. Snowed some this morning, snowed some this afternoon, obviously not sticking. But anybody who on this March day thought they were going to get some yard work done today is surely crazy. Hey, I want to wish you a happy St. Patrick's Day.
Hey, I see you have green on today.
Yeah.
Did you wear that yesterday also? Because
why would I wear it yesterday? It's St. Patrick's Day
St.
today.
St. Patrick's Day was yesterday.
Oh no.
What do you think, Scott?
Oh my, that brings me.
Did everybody work green at school today?
I was wondering why I was the only person with green. I'm saying right now, that's exactly.
You got plenty of green in there.
That's exactly why I need Magic Mind. I'm just saying. Say goodbye to the feeling of being amped up and hello to the feeling of being dialed in. Reduce stress, steady, calm energy, focus and clarity, benefits that build daily. And I'm dressed up in green because
Today.
I think it's St. Patrick's Day. And
I just thought maybe you went to bed that way and
no,
just got up and went to school.
I did not take my Magic Mind this morning either.
Well, you're going to need some this week because we've got to pick some winners for these ball games coming up.
Yes, I want to be in the state of flow. And so make sure that you get your Magic Mind. Make sure that you use the discount code Coach's Corner 20 for 20% off. And I'm telling you, the stuff is great. I'm telling you, it works for focus, for energy, for less stress. Order some Magic Mind, magicmind.com. And I am going to get you some so you don't make mistakes like this. If I come in next week with red on and I say, I thought it was Christmas.
I thought IU won.
Yeah, no, I know. So
That may have been the greatest segue of all time.
So Magic Mind is the best. And speaking of the best, Health Markets Insurance with the great Tony Letcher, 1995 John Adams graduate. Thanks to Tony Letcher with Health Markets Insurance, whether you need help with your health insurance or Medicare, and you and I are getting to that stage of Medicare. You're probably already on it.
I'm on it, full speed ahead. And
I'm not because I'm still working. But it's time you get the right coverage for the right price. Call Tony at 574-307-8882 or visit his website at tletcher.com. Hahn, the great Pat Hahn and Hahn Funeral Home. Hahn Funeral Homes is located at 505 West A Street in downtown Mishawaka. Call them anytime at 574-255-1474. Stop in to get answers from the local funeral professionals about all your funeral needs. It's a very traumatic time when your family or you have to go through that, and stop in and see the great people at Hahn Funeral Home, the Black Sedan Band. I mean, one of the reasons I love doing this show every Monday night is because I get to listen to some of the Black Sedan Band's music.
That's right.
And it's actually really, really good. So,
and oh, by the way, your brother's the drummer.
And oh, by the way, my drummer or my brother has got great chops. He's got great chops on that drum set, and he's really, really, really good.
You know, I saw a YouTube this week during my free time that I've had quite a bit of here recently since I had my surgery last week, and had a picture of a 5-year-old doing the drums.
Really?
On Phil Collins, one of Phil Collins' songs.
That's amazing.
He was good.
That's
He aired an
amazing.
He was good. Yep.
That's amazing.
He was good.
Hey,
5-year-old.
Speaking of good, a little NFL football maybe to start show because we got a lot of hoops, man. We got a lot of hoops.
Plenty of. But this is your big chance because after all the crap I give you about Bears, I don't want to hear it. Now there's finally some news.
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of news with the Bears. They've signed a couple of guys. They made a couple of trades. They traded for Keenan Allen the other day, a great wide receiver from the San Diego Chargers. Gave up a 4th-round draft pick. Keenan Allen had over 100 receptions last year. So you team him up with J.D. Moore. For the Bears, he had about 100 receptions, but now here's the big story. Everybody is saying, are they going to keep Justin Fields or going to trade Justin Fields? If they trade Justin Fields, they have the number 1 pick. Mm-hmm. Are they picking a quarterback? Is the quarterback going to be Caleb Williams and all that kind of stuff? And everybody speculated. Well, now the speculation is over because last Friday or Saturday, Ryan Poles, the GM, trades Justin Fields to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Pittsburgh Steelers just signed Russell Wilson.
Right.
And they got Russ, but Russ is long in the tooth.
And
he's older.
And then they turn around and released
Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett, I believe, signed with the New York Jets.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little bit quarterback carousel, and and a lot of the Chicago people, a lot of maybe people affiliated in the NFL or the Bears themselves are a little upset because all they got for Justin Fields was a 6th-round draft pick in next year's draft, and that could be a 4th-round pick if Justin Fields starts 51% of the snaps.
Okay.
And so at the end of the day, people said,
right.
Can you get a number 1 for Justin Fields? Can you get a number 2? Can you get a number 3? Well, what happened is they had some other trade possibilities, and they actually asked Justin Fields, Ryan Poles asked Justin Fields, where would you prefer to be? And he said, the Pittsburgh Steelers, because Mike Tomlin, the coach of the Steelers, made some nice comments about Justin Fields during the season, and so everybody knew that they were trading Justin Fields. So the leverage that the Chicago Bears had in trying to get as much as they can for Justin just went down the drain.
They didn't get top dollar for him. That's for sure.
No, and that went down the tubes when guys like Kirk Cousins signed and Russell Wilson signed with other teams that were needing quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And so the need for quarterbacks kind of went down a little bit. Once, Baker Mayfield signs for $30 million a year for 3 years with the Tampa Bay Bucks. And Baker Mayfield has been, last year he had a great year for the Bucks, but he's been a journeyman.
Well, and I'm gonna put a spin on this. As much as we talk about how the NFL is a business and how cruel it is, and players get moved from here to there, just like they're moving pieces of a puzzle. Here's a situation where the Steelers, and they're getting the reputation of being a family, where the Steelers, reach out and say, "Yeah, we'll take him," and the Bears do the same thing. So the Bears, in good faith, they literally said, "Where do you want to go?" And they honored his wishes, because that doesn't happen very often.
No, because it truly is a business. And if Justin Fields did not want to go to, let's say, the Oakland Raiders, but the Oakland Raiders were going to give him a 3 for him, the business side of it says, hey, so what, man? We're getting a 3rd-round pick for you. But I think Ryan Poles was a little sympathetic to all of the stuff that went on with Justin Fields, and I think the Bears made the right move.
And I think you got to applaud the Bears for what they did. Is what I'm saying.
Yes, and I think they made the right move in moving on from Justin Fields, because they have a chance to get a generational quarterback. Now, I got brothers that we text with and stuff like that, and they make all these comments about Caleb Williams, and all I said was study this. Okay, listen to the quarterback gurus who run the quarterback schools, who run the quarterback camps, and they work with all these quarterbacks, and listen to the good things that they say about Caleb Williams. And I had some brothers that made some comments, he's soft, he's not tough, and blah, blah, blah. Well, he has a chance to be a generational talent, and so I say you got to take him, right?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I say you got to take him, and now and
who are they going to take if they don't take him?
Yeah, and well, I mean, there's Drake.
They're going after the LSU quarterback,
yeah,
or was it the Duke quarterback,
or the North Carolina quarterback,
North Carolina,
Drake May, or JJ McCarthy from Michigan.
Sure,
but all of this transpired because they traded the number 1 pick last year, and they got picks from the Carolina Panthers. One of the picks was their first pick this year, and oh, by the way, that pick happened to be the number 1 pick in the draft. So if it would have been a normal scenario, at number 9, the Bears would never have had an opportunity to get a Caleb Williams.
Right. And I was reading today where Deion Sanders is saying, hey, be careful. He's a Southern California boy. He's not used to playing in the cold weather in Chicago. But then if you do a little research, I think he's from D.C.
Yeah. No, please.
He's from D.C. He went to Southern California.
Yes.
After being in Oklahoma for a year. So he's only been out of D.C. for 4 years.
So please study your stuff.
Right.
And that's kind of what I said to my brothers. I mean, study this, okay? And make statements that are educated statements. Now everybody goes back to he lost a big game at Southern Cal, and there were pictures of his mother and him hugging after the game, and he was shedding some tears. And oh well,
yeah,
okay.
Let him play. Let him be a kid.
Yeah,
and he's kind of a diva. And I remember seeing stuff where he paints his fingernails and stuff like that. But
that's a little over the edge.
Did it affect his play?
Absolutely not.
Did it affect his play? So shut up and get in the huddle.
If he's going to paint it, they better be orange and blue now. I'm just saying. Hey, Caleb, stay away from the fingernail polish. All right, man.
Catchers paint their fingernails.
I know. Give me a 1. Give me a 2.
Catchers paint their fingernails.
Give me a deuce. Give me a 3. Give me a change up, man.
So, well, hey, we were going to talk about we need to get our order. So the next time Chris comes through here, we need to do a Bar Louie commercial and get him to order our food. By the way,
yes, we will do that. And the great Bar Louie. Are you kidding me? So this is our 29th show of this cycle. And I think we've had a couple that we didn't do here because maybe Bar Louie was closed on a holiday or something. But what a great place this is to come in, to grab a great meal, some nice drinks. There's about 100 TVs downstairs. You can watch whatever sporting event you want to watch. And the atmosphere is just really, really cool and laid back. So if you're looking for a place, especially on Tuesday night is burger night, right?
Right. Tomorrow night's specials on burgers.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a place
and it's crowded,
to get yourself
it's crowded on Tuesdays,
a little meal, stop in at the Great Bar Louie's here in Granger, Indiana.
And Q, we're reading it. Thank you for tuning in today. Q says that the Bears people are just getting PTSD from the previous bad decisions on quarterbacks.
Yeah. And
they're getting that Ryan Leaf, Johnny Manziel feeling, which
Kyle Orton.
Yeah, just get over it.
Yeah,
give the kid a chance to be successful.
Well, and what I like what they're doing is they're trying to put some offensive weapons around him. DJ Moore is a great receiver. Keenan Allen is an all-pro receiver, 5 or 6 years. They picked up a second tight end to go along with Cole Kmet. They picked up a great running back, DeAndre Swift, who can really catch the ball out of the backfield. So they're putting players around him. They've built up their line a little bit, mm-hmm. and they're giving him a chance. And here's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. The Bears got a top 10 defense. They traded for Montez Sweat last year from the Washington Commanders, and they gave up a second-round pick to get Montez Sweat. They have a top 10 defense. Now, most of the time when a great quarterback a la Bryce Young comes out, that team has the number 1 pick for a reason, because they were the worst team in the league. The Bears were not the worst team in the league this year. And so Caleb Williams will be coming to a team.
It's not like Houston was the year before.
Yes, and Caleb Williams will be coming to a team that will have a chance to be successful.
We'll say they're semi-established.
Exactly. Well, they won 7 games last year. So still, a team that wins 7 games would never end up having the number 1 pick.
I agree.
So I think it's a win-win. It's a win-win for the quarterback that comes, and it's a win-win for the city of Chicago because it's. I mean, the running joke. Who's the last great quarterback for the Bears?
I can't tell you. I'd say Billy Wade.
Rex Grossman.
No. Sid Luckman.
Sid Luckman's even further back
from the 40s, man.
Exactly.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Scott, put your picture up there. Weren't you in Pittsburgh last night?
Yeah, I never left the airport.
Okay, never mind. I was trying to figure out where your overnight was because I was getting ready to ask you if you heard any rumblings now that Pittsburgh has 2 starting quarterbacks. The news nationally is that they're gonna, he's gonna set the bench to start with, but I think it'll open up at spring, when they get to fall camp.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. I think Russell Wilson, like I said, he's getting long in the tooth, and he had a real bad experience.
Draft class is Andrew Luck.
Yeah, and
that's a good point.
I mean, Denver gave up half the city to get him,
right,
in draft picks and all that stuff, and he just had a bad experience there. Now, can he come and turn back Father Time? I don't know. But I know sitting in the wings will be just a great kid who is a great athlete, but who really struggles coming off his number 1 read. Now, if they're going to run the play and the number 1 read is here, I mean, he'll take a look at the number 1 read, but he really struggles coming off the number 1 read.
That's something, and that's not unusual. The only reason, and you can tell some of these quarterbacks that have come from the Big 12, they've been pretty good pro quarterbacks because their offenses have been designed to go through the progressions of first, second, third reads. And they've had that opportunity in the pros. And that's why I think some of those guys, i.e. Patrick Mahomes, as an example, is a good example for that. And Brock Purdy was Iowa State.
Yeah, no, Mr. Irrelevant. I mean, Mr. Irrelevant. And the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, so the Kansas City Chiefs have the 27th pick, and they move all the way up into, I don't know, like the 14th pick and pick Patrick Mahomes. They trade up. No, I'm sorry. I think that they got Patrick Mahomes at 10 because here's how smart the Bears are. The Bears got the number 3 pick that year, and they decide to pick Mitch Trubisky. I think Ryan Pace overdosed on Magic Mind, to be honest with you. I think he got his shipment in with 15 bottles. He drank all 15 at once.
So he is now on his 4th team.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who just picked him up.
Yeah, I think he's back with the Buffalo Bills.
He's with Buffalo, that's right.
But so Ryan Pace now has the number 3 pick. He trades up. He trades up with the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers aren't drafting Mitch Trubisky. He traded up and gave away some draft capital to move up the number 2 to take Mitch Trubisky, while Patrick Mahomes is sitting there, and Kansas City goes up and gets him at number 10.
I know it.
Now, hey, let's fire Ryan Pace on the spot, man. I'm just saying, man.
Right.
Come on.
Well, that's enough of the Bears for a little bit. That's a to be continued because I'm sure there'll be a lot goes on between now and next week and all into the summer.
Yeah, I think there's 5 weeks to the draft, and we will. Once the draft kicks,
we'll have it.
It'll be Draft Central here.
I can't wait.
Seriously, you're a football guy.
I do football, I know, but I just don't get into the draft that much. I'm not a let's go to the draft type person.
So we are going to get a gentleman by the name of Matt Denison on the line. Matt is in Southern Indiana, and he's an athletic. He just knows everything about sports in Southern Indiana, Indianapolis. He's got his own radio show. So I'm going to get Matt Denison on. You're going to go through a couple commercials, and we'll chat it up with Matt about the tournament and everything that transpired in Southern Indiana.
Yep, Scott. Let's take a break, and you do whatever you do with it with our sponsors, and we'll get as soon as you're finished, we'll get talking to Matt.
All right, I've got a couple, so I'll play one. They're each 30 seconds, so I'll play one, and then if they're ready, then we'll go. If not, I'll play another one. So
that's fair.
Here's number 1.
All right.
Frick's Driving School has been named the best driving school in Michiana. Not second best, not third best, but the best. Man, if I was a kid and I would learn to drive from Frick's, my life would be so much better with my wife. She's always complaining about my driving. The best in Michiana. Frick's was started in 1960 and is located on Denison Road in Mishawaka. If your child is 15 or if your child is 67, you can get them started at Frick's. There are multiple instructors available for driving lessons, including our own coach, Patrick King. To learn more, go to fricksdrivered.com or give them a call at 574-256-2881.
Are we ready?
Yep.
We are ready.
We have the great Matt Denison, man, from Southern Indiana, knows anything and everything about one of our really, really good friends, Jimmy Shannon. Matter of fact, you did a lot of stuff in New Albany for a long time, didn't you?
Yeah, for years. In fact, I was in, 7th or 8th grade when Coach Shannon came to town from Lebanon, and so had the experience of being with him as a student. Didn't play basketball beyond my freshman year, so I never got that opportunity, but have always been close to him and always been close to that program. And it was an honor to work with him, or work for him, I should say, for I think 12 or 13 years as a feeder system guy and fundraising guy, and then 8 years as an assistant coach on his staff. So had a lot of fun, and he's been one of the great friends that's been a mentor and a lot of things to me over the years.
Say, now he doesn't know that you're on tonight, so we can say anything we want.
Anything, man. Anything. How did he look?
Absolutely.
So how did he look on that Charlestown bench this year?
It was great to see him there because Matthew Lynch, who is one of his former players, and Coach Shannon's son, Spencer, one of his best friends, to see those guys get a chance to reconnect with the roles reversed. And with Coach Lynch as the head coach, a young coach that's trying to do a good job and really build up Charlestown, which I think has a bright future in the next couple of years. Awesome to see him go do that and tutor some of those kids and help out Matt. So great. It was, I think some people in the area were like, what in the world's going on? Like the great Jim Shannon, the guy that's the big man at New Albany going to do this. But I think that kind of shows who Coach Shannon is. If you're one of his guys and you played for him and you've done well for him over the years, he's going to back you. So great to see him link up with Coach Lynch, two wonderful coaches in our state.
Yeah, I kind of did that myself. I had a player that got the head coaching job at Indianapolis Sedan, and he said, Coach, why don't you come to Indianapolis with me and help me coach Sedan for a minute? And I did that, and I think the first year was okay, but the second year, man, that head coaching pedigree in me kind of kicked in, and so it wasn't great for me in the second year. The first year, I think it was really cool. So I would be really interested in talking with Jimmy and asking him how that went for him this year. Have you had an opportunity to really speak with him about that?
Yeah, we talk pretty regularly still. Selfishly, I know what a great coach he is, and I know his strengths and probably even his weaknesses as well. Selfishly, I would want to see him coach again. I think he's still got lots of life in him, lots of coaching life in him. And so I've already, been in his ear, Coach. You got to give it another go. There's going to be some opportunities potentially. So I think it's early. He just kind of taking it all in, see what happens next. But you bring up a great point. I've wondered a couple times this year watching Charlestown play, and I remember when you were at, Sedan there, Coach. I wonder what it's like for guys that have been not just a head coach, but been very successful on these big names across our state that are willing to go help somebody else for a year or two. It's got to be different and interesting for sure.
Well, Pat King did that too. Pat King did that a couple of times at Holy Cross College, and then when I got the job at Mishawaka, he came to Mish. Pat, talk about that.
Well, what I was going to say is Matt was one of my main go-to guys when I was at Madison down in Southern Indiana for those 3 years, and of course I knew I got to know Matt through Jimmy Shannon, and let's don't lie to each other. The main reason we got you on here tonight, we need to talk about Southern Indiana high school basketball.
Love to.
You were at Newcastle this weekend covering the 4A semi-state, and tell us a little bit about what you're doing. You're doing radio down there. You're also park department superintendent for Floyd County or Clark County, right?
Floyd County.
Floyd County.
Yeah.
That's basically New Albany and Floyd Central, and among other schools.
Exactly.
But the towns of.
Exactly.
But tell us a little bit about Newcastle, because you had the big boys over there. You had Center Grove, Jeffersonville, Ben Davis, and Lawrence North, and I think I would have to say to an outsider, Ben Davis was probably a surprise winner down there. Everybody was just figuring it was going to be Lawrence North. But I also want you to talk a little bit about Jeff. Sharon Wilkerson's down there, his second year, and they had a 1 point, 2 point win and a 1 point loss, didn't they? They were a basket away from being in Indianapolis.
Yeah, lots of heartbreak today for Coach Wilkerson in Jeffersonville. I could take this a lot of different ways, so I'll try to just summarize it. But I want to say, number one, Sharon Wilkerson is an unbelievable story. And I've had a chance to get to know him on a personal level, probably some 20 years ago when I was in high school or just out of high school. And the story that he's got and the experiences he's had and the things he's overcome and what he is doing at Jeffersonville High School today with the players he's got. And I'm not just talking about on the court and getting to the semi-state championship game. I'm talking about in the classroom, how they're expected to behave. The program that he is building is just outstanding. I mean, I am so proud of him, as I am so many coaches in our area. But I went into the weekend excited to be at Newcastle. Never been there in the postseason before. Kind of odd. It's a 4A North regional host last week. This past weekend, it's a 4A South semi-state host. But, hey, it's a great gym. I'm glad it's being used. I really didn't know what to expect. I thought Jeff could maybe compete, but I really thought they would struggle with Lawrence North. And they got down 2 different times by 10 points and came back. I think they got down a third time by 9 points and came back and obviously went on to win. It was one of those games. I can't imagine being a coach in that game. It was hard enough as the radio guy to process. How did that just happen? How did Jeffersonville just win that ball game? And so it was an outstanding win. And I wasn't sure what to expect coming back against Ben Davis. I mean, it's just a little different competition as far as the athleticism and things. And Jeff battled the whole game. It was nip and tuck and back and forth, and they built a 6-point lead on 2 different occasions. And I really felt like that Jeff was going to go to the state championship there for that in the final minutes of that game. And it, again, kind of like the morning game in reverse, you think, golly, how did that slip away from Jeffersonville? But it did.
I say you mentioned, weren't they at the risk of repeating yourself, weren't they up 4 or 5 with like a minute to go or a minute and a half? 6.
I think they reached the 6 mark 2 different times and then led by 4 or 5 with a minute 20 or so left before ultimately Ben Davis won. But lots of talent. The juniors are the core of that team, and Jeff is going to be really good next year. And Sharon Wilkerson has got them there deep in the tournament. And these experiences this year, they didn't get the Indy this year, but boy, the experiences they got are going to pay off in the future.
Yeah, I had a great relationship with Sharon Wilkerson when Sharon was a senior, and that summer before he went to IU, I got to coach the barnstorming team that IU always took around the state. And on that team, I believe, was Sharon Wilkerson, Steve Hart, Robbie Eggers, Richard Mandeville. And I worked with that team probably 3 or 4 weeks practice, every 2 or 3 days a week, then playing at different venues around the state. And I remember our first game was at Northside Gym in Elkhart. And as a senior in high school, Sharon got himself jammed up a little bit, made a bad decision and, paid the price for it a little bit. And one of the sports writers in Elkhart brought that up to me after that game and tried to make a negative comment about Sharon. And I stopped him. I said, stop, man. I said, Sharon Wilkerson was an 18-year-old kid. And as an 18-year-old kid, sometimes, we don't make the greatest of decisions. But I've worked with him for a long time, and he's a great kid, and I think he'll be a great college basketball player. And Bob Knight saw that comment in the Elkhart paper, and came to practice on one of the days because I actually lived in Bloomington during that time, and thanked me for that comment that I made regarding Sharon, because it would have been easy just to kind of bury him in the mistake that he made. But I truly believe that it was an 18-year-old kid, man, and I'm sure he not only is coaching his guys up. I mean, he had a cup of coffee at Logan Sport for a minute. He did a great job at Shaw Memorial and Madison. He coached him up a little bit, but I think he's in his element at Jeffersonville.
That's his hometown, I believe,
Yeah.
isn't it, Matt? Didn't he went to Jeff?
Yeah.
And I do remember he was about the third coach after I left over at Madison. You're only allowed to coach at Madison like 2 or 3 years, and they tell you it's time to go. So he got his year or two in, and then I think he went to Logan Sport for a year, and then now he's at Jeff, which I think is where he wanted to be the whole time.
Well, I mean, he's back in his environment. He's working with the kind of kids that he wants to work with, it, and he can make a huge difference in their life in their life. So if you see him, please tell him I love him and that he's the absolute best. Now give me a couple of Joey Luce stories from his time at Jeffersonville, man.
Man, Coach Luce, I first met him or knew of him when he was at Marion, and obviously just a basketball guy through and through. And when he came to Jeff, we had already had some connections. He brought his Richmond team down to play at a thing I used to do in Louisville every year. So we had connected through that. And when he accepted the Jeff job, my tentacles went up because I knew it was just a matter of time till him and I were able to work together in some way. And it was a very unique relationship. Here I am at New Albany and obviously very loyal and to the Bulldogs and Coach Shannon, and very, involved in our youth system and things like that. But he and I were able to get to a really good place. And I ran some events at Jeff that made the Jeffersonville program hopefully some money as a fundraiser. And he supported everything I did down here, radio and other events. And, it was a wonderful relationship between the two big powers in Southern Indiana. And he and Coach Shannon obviously had a lot of respect for each other. And it just was a lot of fun. And he was at Jeff at a time where he had some talent. Of course, the Romeo years, he had to go against some of that as well, which probably kept him from beating New Albany as much as what he would have liked for sure. But great time with him here. We still stay in touch. Obviously, his brother, I don't know him as well. I know he's in a state championship game this week, and that's been interesting from afar to follow the situation there in that community with the tornadoes and then the success they're having on the court. But Coach Luce he is one of the more committed, lifelong committed basketball guys. He lives and breathes it and talks about it and thinks about it every moment of the day. And just a fun guy to get to know. And we had some real battles now. We had some real battles, but we had a lot of fun off the court. He's one of my guys. I like him.
Well, I was going to tell you, he took on the role, the attitude of his high school coach, by the way. So
yeah, no, he's a Wapahani guy, and he was a little kid when I was there. He was in the junior highs. His brother Matt was a couple years younger than him, and they were always around. Man, they would ride the bus to games, and he ended up being a really, really good college baseball player at Purdue. One of his best friends in life is Matt Painter, and they both have a lot of respect for each other. So, Joey has done a great job. Now he's back in the game. He's at Tippecanoe Valley, and he's done a great job of reviving that program. And and I don't know. Maybe you can kind of tell us, what you've heard down from the South about jobs being open, because I don't see Joey Luce staying at Tippecanoe Valley very much longer. I look for Joe to get back into a 4A school and a program where he will have a chance to compete for a state.
Yeah, I that's the natural thought. I agree with you. I see him as a 4A guy. and the kind of guy that will go wherever he needs to go. Indy, Evansville, Southern Indiana, Northern Indiana. He knows people like you guys. He's connected everywhere he goes, so he's able to get those kind of jobs. But I do think, he has a good day job there in the situation he's in. I think he enjoys that, been successful with that. So that could anchor him there maybe a little bit more than what you think. But I think I would agree with that thought. He's a 4A guy, and I can't wait to see where he goes next.
Any rumors about jobs being open down there or up to Indianapolis or anything that you've heard? I just was talking with Kyle Neddenriff about this at Newcastle. It's so far seems to be kind of slow. I know we just got through semi-state weekend, and we still have a couple weeks, which is odd to the state finals. So there have been some movement recently down here with girls, a couple surprises. Providence and Floyd Central girls came open. And sometime when you get those first couple openings, it just starts a trickle of things. So I think we'll see some movement with some boys things coming up, sooner rather than later. But on a statewide perspective, don't really know what to expect. It's the years where you're like, I don't think there's going to be a lot of movement, or there was a lot of movement last year. So this is going to be a slow off season. It's those years where there seems to really be some surprises. So
I think the only two jobs I've heard of down there in the southern part right now are Jennings County and Madison for the boys. So,
Madison's open again?
Oh, yeah, it's open again. That's the guy who's been there 3 years. He reached his limit.
3-year cycle, man.
He reached his limit. He's been there 3 years. Hey, let's shift gears real quick. Heck was over at Elkhart, so he saw Fishers and Mishawaka and Fort Wayne, and I was down at Logansport for the 3A. The people up here are going to be really interested what you might have to say about Scottsburg, because Scottsburg and South Bend St. Joe are going to meet up here in 2 weeks in the state finals, and I'm sure anything secrets you have or observations about Scottsburg, they'd be interested in hearing what you have to say. I know a little bit about them, and the people up here know a little bit about Scottsburg simply for the Hanover factor that I think Coach Miller and Shrewsbury were teammates at Hanover, and Hanover came up here in November for an exhibition game and played Notre Dame. So,
that's right.
But other than that, that's just, so that means you've got two kids, one for one team, one for the other.
Okay, stop for a second. Okay, stop for a second. I need to do this Magic Mind commercial because what the hell does Hanover coming up playing Notre Dame have to do with Scottsburg?
That's the connection because Hanover has a kid named Miller, coach's kid that plays at Scottsburg.
Oh, my bad. I need to get back on Magic Mind.
No, I just need to fill in some blanks.
My bad.
So it'll be interesting to see
Scottsburg.
Shrewsbury versus Miller if they guard each other. That'll be interesting.
Yes.
There you go. Scottsburg, 24-5. Eric Richardson has done a great job with them. They have got some guys that can really fill it up, and they've got a big guy as well. I saw them a couple times in person this year, and I wasn't sure what to expect. I knew they were a quality ball club. I knew they had made a nice run last season, but I wasn't sure if they could get deep into the tournament, the semi-state or beyond. And I'll be honest, regional weekend, I was in Huntingburg for the Jeff game against Evansville Harrison, so I got a chance to see Coach Burkhart and the Bossy Bulldogs in that regional. And I know that their record, Bossy's, was not outstanding, but I thought they would maybe give Scottsburg some problems. So seeing the scores come in at Newcastle during our broadcast, I was pleasantly surprised to see Scottsburg have success as they did against Bossy, and I thought that they would really have a tough matchup with Garin Catholic. I wasn't sure what would happen, but they've had some different players step up. And again, so many shooters on that team. They're just seem to be hitting their stride, as most teams do that are still alive at this part of the tournament. And I think they've got a great chance. I'm opposite of you guys. I don't have near the knowledge of St. Joe that you might have, but it sounds like we're headed to a really good state championship matchup in 3A. And I'm not so sure from what I've read on both teams and what I know about Scottsburg that I wouldn't peg the Warriors as a little bit of a favorite a couple weeks out from that ball game.
Well, I think you're right. Now, the one thing I have learned, I think they only play 5 players. I've seen quotes about the Iron 5 and things like that, which always scares you. But, you say that, and then they turn around and they won 2 games in one day the other day. Like you said, they beat Bossy in the morning and then turn around and beat a very good Garin Catholic team in the afternoon. The one thing I saw in the paper was against Kern. They were 9 of 16 from threes in the first half.
Wow.
In the first half.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
And here's what I say about that. All right. So this is a podcast. I can say this on a podcast. All right.
Here we go.
Right. I can say this on a podcast.
Matt, write this down.
And I used to tell my teams this all the time.
Write this down.
And I used to tell coaches this all the time. Dog shits early, he don't shit late. So if they're making threes early, don't get blown out of proportion. Right? That's what I say.
I know. I understand now. How big's this Clancy kid? Is he 6'7", 6'8" inside?
Yeah, I think 6'7", 6'8", somewhere in there. He's a big X factor for them in addition to the shooters. And you mentioned Coach Miller and the Hanover connection there. He came into Scottsburg and he's been a big addition. I think he played some travel ball with those guys. And obviously Coach Miller very much knows Coach Richardson at Scottsburg, and so there was a connection there. He's been a big difference maker for them.
I say his older brother, I think, his older brother played at either Madison or Southwestern, I thought.
Yes. Yep.
All right, let me ask both of you guys this question here because it kind of bothers me about the state tournament now, and I know the field house in Indianapolis is booked this week, but the momentum for high school basketball now. We've had great semi-states, man. Great. The northern semi-state here, Liberty Christian. One of my ex-players, Norman Anderson, is the head coach there. They started 3 freshmen, 1 sophomore, and they play Fort Wayne Canterbury, who started 5 seniors. I was at that game. Just a great game. So the momentum for high school basketball now is there.
Right.
Now to take 2 weeks off and to let some of that momentum die a little bit. I'm kind of concerned about that.
Well, and they're playing the state finals the Saturday between Good Friday and Easter Sunday.
Yeah, and so I'm saying, would it have been a deal where they could have found another venue to maybe play instead of the Bainbridge Fieldhouse, or could they have played at Hinkle? Could there have been an exception made at Hinkle to play, the state tournament there or something? Because I'm just afraid.
At Assembly Hall.
I'm just afraid of the momentum.
Scott. Scott just threw a jab in. He said, "There's nothing going on at Assembly Hall."
Well, we could have played at Purdue too. So what do you think about that? I'm just curious.
I don't know, Matt. What do you think? Do you like this 2-week gap?
I got two schools of thought on it. One is no, I don't like the gap, and I've never been a head coach, nor have had any aspirations to. You guys have. I can't imagine building this momentum that Coach Heck talks about, coming out of great semi-state games and my team being successful, and then having 2 weeks until we get out on the floor again. I'd be trying to schedule a scrimmage or something with somebody in between. So obviously, I hate that. The flip side of that is it seems that the Pacers, the Fever, have been wonderful to the IHSA, in sponsorships and other things. And what an experience that Indiana kids have if they can reach that pinnacle in 1A through 4A, girls and boys, to play in an NBA arena, right in the center of the capital city of the state. And so I get that they want to preserve that experience and that connection. And obviously there's some sponsorships and I'm sure some things tied up in that as well. So I really do see both sides, but this happened one other time, right? Like the year after COVID, wasn't there a gap in between the?
I'm trying to think. There was a time period when in Indianapolis when they played the college, even in the first round like this, but they played it at the football stadium. They they went over and played it at whether it was the Hoosier Dome or Lucas Oil, wherever it was at the time, and it was a Friday, Sunday. And then on Saturday, by the way, the high schools played over where the Pacers were. So there was ball games. Yeah. You had college on Friday night, or all day because they had 4 games. Then you had the high school played on Saturday, and then the colleges played again on Sunday over at the football stadium. So I don't know. Obviously they didn't ask us our opinion, or we could have played it. you play the fairgrounds. The Coliseum only seats about 8 or 10 now.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the only other viable option would have been Hinkle, and I don't know. I think there's some NCAA rules now that state that high schools can't play on college campuses.
I think that's the case. Like, I think that's the case during the regular season.
Is that a regular season thing?
If somebody's organizing a showcase of sorts, but like Kentucky state championships are at Rupp Arena.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's, I don't know.
Michigan just played at Michigan State. So I don't know. Yeah. So you've got, you think Scottsburg and St. Joe will be a good game. I really think. I
do. I mean, I don't know a ton about St. Joe, but you and I talked some about him yesterday. But it just, from everything I see coming out of these two semi-states, it seems like we're headed. That might be one of the matchups in the state finals that excites me the most.
Right, and crowd-wise, it will be a very one-sided crowd because St. Joe, they don't really travel that well. They're going to have to get the city of South Bend to back them up a little bit, and people will show up for the state finals. But I'm sure Scottsburg will outnumber them 2-1 in Indianapolis, much like, because what I understand at Seymour, it was a very 3-1 crowd, because they were playing Kern, and Karen's a very similar sized school to St. Joe. So
yeah. So so answer me this question: Are you going up for the Hall of Fame induction on Wednesday to Indy?
I'm not going, but I really wish I could, because a guy that is just a terrific basketball gentleman from Southern Indiana, Jim Morris.
The head coach at IU Southeast, right? Long time.
Yeah. Went to Jeff, coached at New Albany for a brief period, first coach and athletic director at IU Southeast. He is going in the Hall of Fame, and obviously Coach Morris no longer with us, but a very deserving person and just an outstanding, again, basketball athletic gentleman in our area. And some of my best, as a guy that wasn't any good at basketball and never got to experience the game at the high school level, even beyond middle school or freshman ball, maybe. I'll tell you what, his camps, like, that was the big deal, was to go to Coach Morris's camp at IU Southeast.
Bethel College stuff up here.
Yeah, Pat and I,
thrilled to see him.
Pat and I are going to go down. I mean, a couple guys that are going in. Pete Smith, obviously, the longtime coach at Guerin Catholic and just a great ambassador for high school basketball, is going in. The affable and lovable and sometimes not lovable Dan Dockich will be going in also. So I think I would buy the ticket just to hear his induction speech. and then one of the great players of all time in South Bend, a guy named Jimmy Webb, who played in the middle 70s when we played, had a great career at John Adams High School, and then played at the University of Cincinnati. Died way too soon in his 30s of cancer. He's going in on a long overdue deal. So we'll be excited to hear some of those induction speeches, man.
Hey, before we let you go, let's jump across the river. Tell us everything you know about who's the new coach will be at Louisville.
Golly, what a mess that has been for a couple of years now. Man, what a deal. I'll be curious to see what plays out. I mean, everybody is down here is hoping for Scott Drew. If you're a University of Louisville fan, he seems to be the number one target. Dusty May, obviously, a name that I think a lot of Indiana people were hoping that might work out, where he could come back home at some point. I think he's going to be a contender in that. It's going to be real interesting to see what happens.
How about Nick Cronin out there at UCLA? I heard his name too. I definitely
have heard his name.
See, I was just trying to figure out what you've heard down there that hasn't drifted this far north yet.
Well,
those are the names.
Okay.
I'll tell you one thing. I want Dusty May to hang on for one more year, because I think we can get him in Bloomington in another year, man.
All right. Well, you're not too far. Tell us what you know about Bloomington. What secrets can you tell us that we might not know here? Why are they not? Why did they not go to the NIT? Is there a reason?
I think the world is changing with college hoops, and I really wonder, the transfer portal opening up today, the same week that postseason begins. I think these coaches have to prioritize building their roster with how fluid things are. And I just can't imagine that. And I'm sure there's things we don't understand, I don't understand, but I can't imagine why or how long they're going to continue to allow this portal deal to go on during the tournament. I think it's going to kill the NIT, and I think that it will create some situations that we probably haven't even thought of. So going to be interesting. I don't have any insight in Indiana. My daily radio show down here is the Hoosier Report. So it's all about IU at Southern Indiana sports. We talk about it. We hear from fans. The text line, I get blown up every day. People are not happy with Coach Woodson. And it's a tough thing because, I mean, he's had a little success, the 2 NCAA tournaments, and obviously missing this year. At what point, and I guess you could bring Kenny Payne and Louisville into this as well. At what point, how many years does it take somebody to build a program that they're not inheriting, that's already in a strong place? I mean, is 2 years for Kenny Payne really enough? Is 3 years really enough for Mike Woodson? Or are there other indicators that athletic directors and boosters and others have to pay attention to? I'm sure it's a mix of both, but tough times right now in Bloomington and Louisville with the college programs.
Well, so one of the things I think, and one of the questions that is always going to be asked is how much NIL money do you have? Because at the end of the day, Pete Bell and Blue Chips had it right? I mean, Dion didn't even want a car. We got him a car. Ricky just wanted a tractor. That's all he wanted was a tractor. And so whichever NIL program is the strongest, my question is the guy in the white suit by the name of Ricky Pitino, is he coming back to Louisville, man? I'm just saying.
I don't know if he's allowed in town. Hey, Matt, before we let you go, tell it for listeners, we're on the computer here, so people that are local in your area and people, they can probably find you anywhere on the internet, I'm sure. Tell us what radio station you're on and what your talk show is, and if we wanted to listen to your talk show, how do we find you?
The best way to look me up is on Twitter at Hoosier Hills, all one word, Hoosier Hills. WXBW 1450 AM 96.1 FM. Anybody can listen. BigXSportsRadio.com. Again, BigXSportsRadio.com. Those are good ways to keep up. And it's been an honor. You guys you were great coaches. You're great people, basketball people in our state. You're still contributing to the game in our state. Pat, we spent some great times together when you were at Madison. When I came to South Bend to broadcast baseball, you took me in, you toured me around the city. And Coach Heck, I know our paths have crossed a few times over the years as well, but I got to say this before I go. Coach Hecklinski, one of the things that I will always, when somebody says your name, I know you had a lot of great teams and players, but the number one thing that will come to my mind as a young, middle school student at New Albany is following your team when they went to Washington, D.C., I believe it was, and played and beat, if I'm correct, DeMatha. I was amazed as a guy that's likes to put events and organize things. I was amazed that you took the team there, you got the approval to do it, and then you went on that stage and won. So that's something that I always think of when I hear Coach Heck's name.
Well, so I certainly appreciate that, and obviously the amount of awareness that Morgan Wooten and myself generated for organ donation awareness was huge. But at the end of the day, once they threw the ball up, man, and I looked down at Morgan, and his face was beet red, already screaming at the officials. 10 seconds into the game, I thought organ donation is cool, man, but this game is on. Let's go. Hey, I appreciate those comments, man. You're great for athletics in the state of Indiana. Your show is really good. I remember during COVID, you and Chris May did some shows, and I was fortunate to be on your show on one of those deals, and it was fun. It was great. So thanks for doing all the things you do for the high school sporting scene in the state of Indiana, man.
Thank you guys so much. It's been an honor to be with you. Keep up the good work.
All right. Take care, Matt. See ya.
All righty.
All right. Bye now.
That is the great Matt Denison.
Denison's a good guy.
And he
is everything. He is like the Charlie Hughes of Southern Indiana. if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and for anybody who doesn't know who Charlie Hughes is, Charlie Hughes was a gentleman out of Anderson, Indiana, that set up all kind of AAU tournaments, one of the biggest summer tournaments in the state. He always set it up in Indianapolis and was just a great promoter of high school basketball.
And Matt does the same thing down there on the river. Now, as he mentioned, he has some tournaments and stuff that they do. They do a one across the bridge. And they have Indiana teams playing the Kentucky teams at Christmas time and stuff. And it's good events. They get the best teams around and they play. And I know I would go down there during the summer and we'd go to New Albany and play during the summer leagues. And you'd play Louisville, Mayo, Ballard, places like that. We'd either play at Jeff or we'd play at Floyd or we'd play at New Albany. And you got to play the best teams around. I thought that was one of the best things we did. And well, Scott played on those teams. He was down there at the time, and that's what we did in the summer, getting that little bus and go.
Yeah, guys like Matt Denison who have a passion for high school athletics and probably more so than any high school basketball.
Yeah.
Those guys are great, man.
Scott, put that graphic back up there you had for the Hoosier Hills real quick so people can take a look at that, because at least we can have it there so when people come on and they can watch this on their own free time, they can look there and see the Hoosier Hills. As he said, he's on Twitter and so forth. They can get email addresses, text numbers, whatever they need to find his show that he has every day. So appreciate that.
Text us too.
Yeah, you can send stuff to us. Hey,
my texts are empty.
Well,
get those numbers up.
Give us. Let's shift gears. Tell me one of those questions you had. What was one of those questions you had before the show started? Once you hit us with one of those, we'll just transition right into that. One of them had to do with the teams with the NIT. That was one of our topics with Matt.
Why are they declining, or I forget even how I.
Well, there were 6 teams.
6 teams. Do you have that graphic? Who are the 6 teams that said no to the NIT?
Oh crap! I closed the tab. Didn't you guys write them down?
No, I got them right
That's
here.
all right.
IU, the University of Pitt, St. John's, Oklahoma, Mississippi, coached by the great Chris Beard, and Memphis. They all said no. I mean, we're not going to participate in the NIT tournament. And in fairness, it's their choice whether they want to be in it or not. But at the end of the day, most of the teams always did. But like Matt was saying, it's the opening of the portal. So most of those coaches want to stay on their campus and start recruiting kids into the portal or from the portal, and maybe start getting them on the campuses and trying to get a jump on some of the schools that are actually breaking down film and working and trying to get ready for games either in the NIT or the NCAA tournament. But at the end of the day, it's the fault of either the NCAA or whoever opens these time periods on this portal selection stuff to have this now at the beginning of the tournament instead of when the tournament's over.
So what we're dealing with is basically the same thing we dealt with in December with bowl season. You've got teams that then they committed to play, but then the players opt out. So then you get a team that's got missing 25, 30 players in football.
Yeah. So I mean, for lack of a better term, you get the JV team, but from the standpoint of a coach of a Notre Dame of type of situation, you get a chance to evaluate some players in a game setting. And so at least they're playing, but these 6 schools now are big basketball schools. And they just said, no, we ain't. I mean, we ain't playing.
Right.
Now, I see both sides of it, and I think it could all be alleviated if this date of joining the portal, if that could be changed. Hey, I want to go over and do a couple of commercials here and thank our great sponsors, and then we can get into some NCAA stuff. We can finish up some high school stuff, and talk a little bit. Health Markets Insurance, the great Tony Letcher. Whether you need help with your health insurance or Medicare, it's time you get the right coverage for the right price. Give Tony a call today at 574-307-8882 or visit his website at tletcher.com. Tony's been with us for all 29 shows here and just really takes care of us. So if you have health insurance needs, get a hold of the great Tony Letcher. Hahn Funeral Home, the loss of a loved one can leave you with lots of unanswered questions and stress. At Hahn Funeral Homes of Mishawaka, we're here to help. Our focus has always been on the families that we serve at Hahn Funeral Home. We stand ready to meet your needs and exceed your expectations. Give them a call at 574-255-1474. Magic Mind is a great. I mean, it just relaxes you. It reduces stress. It gives you steady, calm energy, focus, and clarity. And the benefits build daily. It's a little shot that you drink in the morning, and I've been taking it. And by the way, let's be real. I'm teasing about. I knew it wasn't St. Patrick's Day, right?
It gets you into a commercial, though, didn't it?
It was a great segue.
I thought so. Yeah,
But-
that was a good
so
job.
I've been taking Magic Mind, and it's really good. Really good. I mean, it's a nootropic for focus, for energy, for less stress. And I don't know if my wife's listening now, but I do. My memory has improved, but I want her to think that my memory's
She
still a
doesn't
little
need to
off.
know that.
Yeah, and this is actually what it looks like. And so magicmind.com, Coach's Corner 20 for a 20% off. Frick's Driving School, man. You got a game of the week? Are we rolling on a game of the week here?
I have one in mind. A lot of everybody was really on a neutral site, so there were a lot of road teams this week.
Yes.
But you got our Doug and Joe Lynn down at the driver's ed place here down the street here on Edison Drive, and we've got spring break coming up, so there'll be a lot of chances for people to drive. You can go in there and get your kids signed up. You get 6 drives that goes along with the online class and get you signed up, or you can take the driver's test there, and then you just go down to the BMV when it's 16 years old in 3 months and get your driver's license.
So where's our
6
little car?
lessons.
I mean, we got our car.
It's 16
yeah.
in 3 months nowadays.
Where's our little
Well, I was
car,
gonna say,
man?
you get 6 supervised drives. That's a lot. When I
You
learned
do.
to
6 drives.
when I learned to fly the 320, I only got 4.
There you go.
Well, that's why you're a pilot.
It's safe.
That's why you don't like driving anywhere. You just fly.
And tell us it's safer to fly than it is to drive.
If it's
Yeah,
Boeing,
no,
I'm not going.
If it's not Boeing, I'm not going.
All
No,
right.
if it is
So
Boeing, I'm not
If it
going.
is Boeing, yeah, you're flying Airbuses, aren't you? Which is another brand name.
Indeed.
Yeah.
You want
Yeah,
the
you got
car?
Time for the car.
we gotta have
Where's-
the car,
where's my
man.
car?
I love this.
There he goes across the.
That's a little dance move right there.
That was.
You going to?
I
Are
was
you
just following the cars.
or
What
no,
I was
are you
doing.
It's
practicing
the
for when you
condition
go
of
to
the
Mexico?
roads in Indiana.
Oh no, I was missing potholes. Is what
okay.
I was doing.
I thought you were a little
No,
dance stuff.
I was
going.
missing the potholes.
All right, what's your game, big boy?
My game of the week, Scott. Road team of the week. I'm gonna stay in the Big Ten, and I'm gonna pick Illinois. How's that?
Yeah, no,
I
Terrence.
thought Illinois played really well. and
Terrence Shannon was a man.
Yeah, and I just thought they took care of business.
4 points in the last 2 games.
Yeah, I thought they took care of business, and I thought Illinois set themselves up for a nice little run. It would. It wouldn't surprise me that they're a Final 8. It wouldn't surprise me if they're a Final 4.
Yeah, I don't.
With all, and there's going to be what we're going to talk here in a few minutes. You thought we had upsets last year? I think there's going to be more this year.
Yeah, I think the tournament draw, and obviously we can get a little choo-choo here from the Purdue faithful because there are some philosophical questions here, and I think Scott had one that he asked me at the beginning of or right before we went on. Scott, you want to ask that question again?
Run your
let
Purdue
me- let
thing
me-
first. How's
let
that?
me- Let me
Get your lead in.
choo-choo. So this leads into a deep philosophical question about coaching strategies and methodologies here going into March. Now, you two, obviously having been head coaches for the majority of your lives, do you buy into the rest factor of, or I guess I should frame the question of, do you care that Purdue lost to Wisconsin, or are you more on the side of keep everybody healthy, get ready to go for Friday?
Yeah, I'll let you start this off, Patrick.
Okay, I'll start it. I like to win, but I think the conference tournament for your big schools serves its purpose. I think just getting to the Saturday game, the semifinals, the Final Four, like Purdue did, was adequate. Winning the Big Ten tournament is nice, but I don't think it's a necessity. And I think they proved
the last few years.
And I think they proved it by, losing on Saturday in the semifinal. And everybody kept their 1 seed. If you think about it, the 4 1 seeds, only one of them won their conference tournament. And that's UConn. The other 3 got beat.
Yeah,
North Carolina got beat.
Lost by 30.
Houston got beat by 30. And Purdue got beat. So only one of them, UConn, and they just happened to be the number 1 overall. But they
bless you.
Thank you.
If you think about it, it's I don't think it's any longer a necessity like it would be Indiana State. And we'll talk about that maybe here in a few minutes too.
Yeah. So my view on it is it's more of a simplistic type of a view that says if they say that we can play for a championship, whether it's an in-season conference championship or if it's the conference tournament, and we're supposed to play, then as a coach, I'm preparing my guys, and we're going to play that game to win, regardless of what situation it is. Now if a player's injured, and he needs to sit out, or if you're in the NCAA national championship game and that player could come to you, or that trainer would come to you and say, if it's the NCAA championship game and you want to play this guy, you can play him. And if it's just a conference championship game, I would say, well, we're probably not going to play him, but when that game is on, man, and we're coaching them up, I'm playing that game to win. There's absolutely no question about it. Now, if it's a deal afterwards, I'm going to break that film down. I'm going to talk to our guys, and we're going to figure out why we didn't win. And then we're going to move on real quickly because now the NCAA tournament is here. But do I think the momentum of winning that conference championship, do I think that there's something to be said for that? I do. But then again, like we said, it hadn't worked out for a lot of teams, to be quite honest with you. And it didn't really affect Purdue's number 1 seed or Houston's number 1 seed.
Did it affect Illinois?
Well,
who knows?
Illinois
did Illinois? Illinois is a 2 seed.
Yeah, I think I can move them up a little bit.
Now, here's interesting. And I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but Wisconsin, if you think about it, what's the guard's name? Hepburn.
Chucky Hepburn.
Chucky Hepburn did not play in their first game, and maybe even their second game.
He played against Purdue.
But he played against Purdue, so they sat him out because he had been hurt.
Wisconsin had something to prove, though. They had something to
they
had seeding to gain.
They took a chance by him not playing in those early games,
and they did improve their seed. They ended up with a 5
They're
seed.
a 5 seed,
and so they did improve their seed. And teams. So I'm just different, man. I say, if we got to play a game, lace them up and let's go play. Is it more important for IU to win 3 games, or is it more important for Purdue to win 3 games? I never want to answer that question. I don't want to answer that question because, to me, man, we're playing a game. Are you kidding me? We're playing our ass off to win.
We're not going to. We're going to prepare every time to win the ball game.
And I totally believe. That Purdue prepared to beat Wisconsin and wanted to beat Wisconsin, and it just didn't end up. I mean, there's a lot of parity in college basketball, and you'll see it as we get into the NCAA tournament. And as we speak about the NCAA tournament, there's
before you get too crazy about that, let me ask you another question.
Yeah.
Ask you this.
Ask me this question.
So if you're Shaka Smart and you've got the defending Big East Player of the Year, Tyler Kolek, is out with I believe an oblique injury. and he didn't play the entire Big East tournament. And I thought I heard somebody say that he was maybe good enough to go against UConn. Are you going up to Tyler Kolek and being like, hey, are you good to go? Do you want to go? Or are you saying, hey, we know you're okay, probably, but we're going to be a 2 seed regardless. Let's just roll with these guys and stay healthy. Or are you kind of saying, hey, let's go?
No. The key word that you just said was probably. Now that trainer has to tell me he is 100% good to go, because what's to say he misses 3 games in a row? Now he comes back, he's going to be a little rusty maybe. I don't know. I mean, they've played enough games, but when the word probably is injected in there, then he's not playing. Then he's not playing. If I'm the coach, if there's no probably, and that in that trainer or that medical staff said he's good to go, get him some minutes so he gets acclimated back into playing, because I think that's important too. But the word probably says no to me, to be honest with you.
How much are you taking into account what the individual player actually says? Like if I'm Tyler Kolek and I come to you and I go, hey, Coach Smart, I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
I take absolutely zero into account on that, because
we're always ready to go.
Yeah, because my leg could be hanging off, my shoulder could be out of joint. And if I could play in a game and they could shoot me up and numb me up, I'd say I'm good to go. But
I did it in high school.
No, I know. We all did that. And so we all want to compete and play. But I always left that to the medical people. Now concussion protocols got really strict. And before, and you know this, Pat, you get dinged up, you come over to the coach says, how many fingers I got up, Pat?
That's right.
And Pat says 2.
He says 3. Yep, that's close enough.
That's close to 2. Get back out there. But now we know.
No, it doesn't happen.
Now we know the protocols are so good and they're so on the safe side for young athletes.
They wave them off. Well, hey, before we get any further into the Division I, let's talk a little bit about some of the other things that have been going on. Over in Fort Wayne, we had the Division III finals this weekend. And believe it or not, Trine University out of Fremont, Angola?
Yes, Angola.
Angola was national champions.
Well, and so it's Trine, but in our day it was Tri-State.
Tri-State, yes. But now that's just showing our age, because it's been Trine for quite a while.
Yeah, but
that was Division III,
and who played for Tri-State back in the day?
Well, I almost did.
Who do we know from here?
The only one I know from Anderson's Dave Ballinger.
No, the great Al Rhodes. Al Rhodes
played at Trine.
Was a Tri-State. Was a Tri-Stater.
That's right. And here's some of the other schools that were in it. Anderson University. I beg your pardon. They won
who's the president of Anderson University?
One of my classmates. What's John Pistol?
Former deputy director of the FBI.
Former deputy director of the FBI, TSA director, all the above. They happened to play Hope College from Michigan. First round, Hope won, so Hope got a win. Anderson was one and done. You also had Wabash College. They played Coe University, got beaten overtime. They were in the same bracket with Trine. So Division III was at Fort Wayne at the Coliseum over the weekend, which was a big deal. You notice all of these tournaments, the NCAA has moved to Indianapolis. The NIT. The finals this year are not at Madison Square Garden. They're at Hinkle.
Yeah, and that's, Indianapolis is a great, great hub for anything now. And the NCAA is situated in Indianapolis.
Sure it is. NAI had a lot more teams. The NAI is still in the process. They have played a couple rounds, and we had a bunch of teams up here in our area. I can just go through some of them. Right now, there's 2 left. Out of they're down to 2, 4, 6, 8, 16 teams, and they're playing out in Kansas, and they play again Thursday. When's the 21st?
Thursday.
Okay, so they play, and so you've got number 1 in the country is Grace College, and they play Northwestern out of Iowa. They're on one side of the bracket. Bethel College was in this and actually was an 11 seed, and they won their first game. They upset LSU Alexandria, Louisiana, and then turned around and lost to Central Baptist Arkansas in round 2. but they're in the Crossroads. There's 2 teams from the Crossroads. Indiana Wesleyan is still playing. They have defeated Tennessee Southern and they defeated Columbia, Missouri in their first 2 games. So they will play Arizona Christian. So that's a 2 seed versus a 3 seed. You also had, I got all kinds of Cornerstone, Michigan, won 2 games before they lost to Madonna. Madonna, Michigan.
She's got a team?
Now, do you know where Madonna is located? It's in Livonia,
I
Michigan.
thought she lived in New York City.
Well, this is her cousin.
Oh, okay.
But it's a Detroit. I actually
I
looked
hope
it up.
they don't have a plastic surgery school at Madonna.
School of Plastic Surgeon.
It's a Detroit suburb. You've also got Marion College, Indianapolis was in it.
Scott Heady, the great Scott Heady.
They lost to Florida College in the first round. Georgetown, Kentucky played Olivet Nazarene from the Chicagoland Conference, and Georgetown won that. Roosevelt was in it from Chicago, from the Chicagoland Conference. They lost to Shawnee State. Cornerstone, Michigan, played Carroll, Montana. They're still playing. They played Cornerstone, then they lost to Idaho.
So don't sleep on.
So
the Crossroads League.
The Crossroads could have 2.
Could have a 2 playing in the national championship game. It would be their 3rd time they played this season.
Well, and that's happened before.
With Grace playing the Greg Tonigal led Indiana Wesleyan team, and those are 2 of the top programs. Not only in the Crossroads League, but also in the nation.
Yeah, they're in opposite brackets. Grace is a 1 seed,
yes,
and Indiana Wesleyan's a 2 seed.
So speaking of the CCAC conference, we need to give a little shout out to Mike McBride. Mike McBride was the head coach at Holy Cross College for about 11 years. Is the all-time leading career winner at Holy Cross. You were on his staff.
I was
for
on
a
his
couple
staff
years.
for 3 years. So was Drew Schaus.
Yeah,
who we talked to last week.
And Mike was just a great coach. I think it'd be hard to follow Mike McBride at Holy Cross because, defensively he was so solid. Offensively, they were going to run that shot clock down. I think about the only thing that you could do maybe is to bring in, maybe a better athlete a little bit. But all those kids that Mike brought in were kids that he knew would be able to play in his system.
Yes, they were system players. That's for sure.
And I don't know if he took another job. I don't know. It just said for personal reasons. But we certainly wish Mike McBride the best. Just a great friend of ours and a great coach in the CCAC league.
I would guess that he's going to pop up someplace. I sent him a text earlier today. Just said, good luck. Congratulations. I said, keep us updated. And he said, you know what he said? Here's how I got 2 words out of him. Will do.
Yeah, no,
that's what it said. But no, that's his
Mike.
Coach. Yep, that's him.
That's Mike. He's not long. He couldn't do this show like you and me.
I probably interrupted him watching game films.
He co-hosted.
Yeah, he was. But yeah, he took your place one day when you weren't here. Might have been last spring. I can't remember. It was in the fall or the spring.
And is that the show that got the best ratings of the year?
That was
probably one of the best
you
ratings.
And Rob Berger.
That was you and Berger. You and Rob Berger when I was gone.
No, we tried to Wally Pip you, but we decided to bring you back.
I went down to the Colonial. Now, in 2 weeks, we got big. I'm going to be doing one on location here in 2 weeks. Now, next week we'll be here, and then the following week is spring break, and I'm going to be out of town. So I'm not really sure I want to see you on a Zoom in a Speedo. No,
in Mexico.
I will. It'll be a waist up. I'll make sure I have it present.
And maybe having a 3 fingers drink or a 2 fingers drink. I don't know.
I don't know if I'll be allowed to drink yet after my surgery that I had.
I don't know. Hey, the NCAA tournament, man. 6 teams from the Big Ten get in. Purdue with a number 1 seed. Illinois. We talked about Illinois, who just had a great run and won that tournament with a 3 seed. Wisconsin with a 5. Nebraska with an 8. Michigan State and Northwestern with 9s. Now, Michigan State gets in at 19 and 14.
I think that's an Izzo factor.
And Indiana State wins 26, 27 games, 27-8, but they play in a different league, man. They play in the Missouri Valley, and unless you were Wichita State, coached by the great Greg Marshall, there was only one team getting in to that tournament. Now, I don't know how you feel, but I think it's a travesty that Michigan State or that Indiana State got left out.
I think, again, here's your argument. How soon do you expand the tournament?
Yeah, but okay, you can expand the tournament.
Do they have to expand the tournament to get these mid-majors, second team in there?
Well, yeah, but there's going to be somebody else, and then it's going to be Idaho State.
Going to be somebody else.
It's going to be Idaho State.
Just like the football.
It's going to be less. It's going to be less Head State.
But why Michigan State instead of Indiana State? I totally agree. Now, they did take a bid for the NIT, but still, the NIT is a whole different tournament.
Yeah, no, and it would have been the first time since the Larry Bird era that Indiana State and
you don't think Bird called them and said they're not in? No, but they had all of the numbers that are needed to get in. The only thing they did not do was win their tournament.
Yeah, that is the only thing. But they had a 24 net, which was a very, very high net score.
Very high. Scott, you said it's the highest ever that did not make the tournament?
Yes.
So the analytics, what do the analytics really mean?
So Indiana State, for the people listening on the audio feed only, they have a better net ranking than Florida, Texas, Mississippi State, Nebraska, Clemson. Did Nevada get in? Yeah, Nevada's in.
Yeah, Steve Alford is in again.
Mountain West.
A bunch of teams that are
in
tournament teams, and Indiana State got left out. The one I want to know your guys' take on is Florida Atlantic, because they didn't win their conference tournament either. And do you think they got in just because, hey, they went to the Final Four last year?
They're in that Eastern,
same roster.
Same roster. 3 of the Final 4 from last year are all in that Eastern Regional with UConn.
Yeah, and so I understand the Tom Izzo factor, but I don't understand a Dusty May factor, because he obviously hasn't done what Tom Izzo's done.
One game, one season.
Yeah, and if that's the case, and maybe the schedule, the non-conference schedule, maybe for Indiana State wasn't as strong as some of the non-conference schedules on some of these other schools. And what ended up breaking Indiana State's back is some of the conference tournament winners weren't the expected winners. So I had heard there were 6 conference tournaments that those winners were not the projected winners.
They interviewed the commissioner yesterday. He said that in the last 2 years they had 3 what they called bid stealers.
Exactly.
This year they had 5 or 6.
6. They had 6 bid stealers.
6 in 1 year. And
State for sure.
Yeah, and Indiana State's a victim of that.
Yeah, that's too bad. And the rough thing about that then is that they're in the NC or they're in the NIT, but their coach is rumored to be involved in the St. Louis job.
He's shopping for a job. Yep.
And I had heard that it's his job.
Now, aren't they in the same conference?
St. Louis I think is in the A10.
Are they in the A10?
I think they're in the A10, and obviously the Missouri Valley. But
again, that's the Atlantic 10, and they're talking about St. Louis. Now, how they're in the Atlantic 10 makes as much sense as maybe Oregon being in the Big Ten.
But I think there's really a couple cool stories in the NCAA tournament this year. Dan Monson, who's the head coach at Long Beach State, has been there for 17 years.
I posted that. I posted that on my Instagram stuff.
Yeah, no, he got fired
Monday.
Yeah, and then his team goes on and wins the conference tournament, and he's in the NCAA tournament. But he says it's time for a different voice and all that stuff.
Yeah, he's being political. That somebody said he can steal Jim Harbaugh's quote, said who's got it better than us.
Yeah, no, exactly.
No, he does.
And then the Duquesne coach, who's in the tournament for the first time since 1977, is Keith Dambrot. Keith Dambrot was head coach at Central Michigan for a couple years, was the head coach at Akron for a while in the Mid-American Conference. And Keith Dambrot's claim to fame, he was LeBron James's high school coach for a couple years in Akron. And
speaking of Akron, did you see how that game ended?
I did not.
Was it Kent State and Akron?
It was.
Yes.
Where Kent State scores to go up 1 with like 3 or 4 seconds left. They take it out of bounds, and the kid fouls on purpose. Didn't know what the score was. So he fouls on purpose, and
it was brutal.
They go to the other end with a 1-and-1 and shoot 2 free throws with 2 or 3 seconds left and win by 1.
So right at that point in time, I might have said, son, let me introduce you to the portal. I mean, I'm sorry. Let me introduce you to the portal,
and
son.
Obviously, the only one of those teams went to the tournament. The other one was sent home.
No, I mean the MAC, the strength of schedule in the MAC is such that if your second team won 30 games was 30-8, a second team would not come out of the MAC, just like the Missouri Valley. And I think that's wrong. I think that's wrong. I think a conference. And Indiana State is the perfect example of that.
Right. Well, somebody mentioned that the solution to the NIT being able to sustain itself in the future, maybe they have to get back to what they used to do, where it was basically a small school college tournament. So these teams that won their conference season but lost the tournament, they basically had an automatic bid into the NIT, which would be an Indiana State. That was the purpose of it. And you wouldn't have these 6th and 7th and 8th place teams out of your power conferences in there cluttering it up like a IU.
Virginia.
Or Virginia.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That. You would have, and almost to the point now with Butler. Butler's in the Big East. Are they too big to be in the NIT? Or do you make this like a Division III tournament for the mid majors?
Yeah,
make it a mid major tournament.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they're too big to be in the NIT, but I think I think there's still a place in the NIT as long as they get this portal date squared away a little bit, because the NIT is obviously a showcase again for players, but then it's an opportunity for you to coach your team. Let's say you got a young team.
Right.
It's an opportunity to coach that team again and get them some tournament experience. I mean, Coach Knight used to always play his IU teams when they weren't strong enough to get into the NCAA tournament. He always played his IU teams.
And do you tell the seniors to go home and play the younger guys? Do you change your lineup and start turning it into an off-season thing?
No, it's a championship. It's a championship.
And you used to play at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, I still think it's a championship.
Yes.
You play the championship just like you would anything else. Hey, I want to. So do you have your brackets done yet?
No, I haven't touched them.
I haven't touched my.
Speaking of brackets,
you've got a game for us. Why don't you tell us how this is going to work and how people can get involved? And because we'd like to have a little fun with this and maybe put some people on here next week. So tell us what you've tried to do here and how people can participate.
So it's just a bracket pool. You're run-of-the-mill one that everybody does online with their friends. If you're watching on YouTube, scan the QR code. I'll leave this overlay up for the rest of the show. So don't text us. Just pull out your phone, put on your camera, scan that QR code, sign up. There's no password. Just come on in and share the link with whoever you want, and we'll get it going. We'll see who has the most points at the end of the first weekend, and we'll reach out. It'll probably be Q, honestly, and he can come guest host or something.
Yeah, well, what we were hoping to do is, and we're just going to pick the first weekend. Is that what we're going to do?
It's for the whole thing, but I can take the point total after the first weekend and see who's ahead.
What I was hoping we could do is reset it next week. So then maybe if we end up with 2 different tournaments next week, we can have one for the entire tournament. But then the people that are like me, if I only get 8 out of 16, I'm going to say I don't care anymore, which is what happened last year. So maybe we'll take the 16 winners and have a second contest. We'll talk about that next week, but we're going to maybe try to get some people on and have some fun and get a little bit more participation too.
And if you're listening to just the audio, Follow us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Watch the
Coach's
shows
Corner,
live on
yep.
YouTube. It's IND Coach's Corner. No E in coaches because it's possessive, because it's their corner. Follow us there. I'll post the link on all of our socials later, so you can join the league.
Hey, so I know the high school, and we'll talk about more of this next week because there's a week in between. But in 4A, it's Fishers against Ben Davis. I did the Fort Wayne Mishawaka game. Mishawaka is leading by 9 at halftime, and then come out in the third quarter. Fort Wayne has some really good athletes, and they speed Mishawaka up a little bit. Mishawaka misses a shot or two early, and Fort Wayne feels pretty good about themselves, and they go on a 20-2 run.
I heard the third quarter was ugly for Mishawaka.
In the third quarter, and go on to win that game, 62-47. It's a game that I think if Mishawaka could have continued to play at their pace, they would have had a chance to be successful like they were against East Chicago Central and Riley. But when Fort Wayne picked up the pace of the game, they kind of took Mishawaka out of their comfort zone. But nonetheless, Mishawaka wins their first regional since 1955 and ended up having a great season. Fishers is really strong. Randy Zachary's kid, Cooper Zachary, is a freshman starter for Fishers, and Jason Gardner, who played at North Central, and had a great college career at the University of Arizona, and then was the head coach at IUPUI for a while, is another freshman guard that plays on that Fishers team. Fisher really good. Fisher's going to play Ben Davis in the championship game. Jeffersonville, 3 points away from going to the state championship game. Like Matt Denison talked about, you had St. Joe 44-41 in 3 overtimes, man.
3 overtimes. It was 35 all, and what Delta had every opportunity in the world to win the game several times because they won the tip to start the game. They won the tip in the first overtime, held the ball. They won the tip in the second overtime, held the ball. Nobody scored in the second overtime. It was 0-0. St. Joe wins the tip in the third overtime, goes down and scores. So now there's a 2-point ball game, and I think and the sad thing is it's a 1-point game with 6 seconds left. Delta has the ball out underneath their own basket, runs a great out-of-bounds play. Kid slips, gets the opposite post, and literally right under the rim. Ball comes to him. He's wide. Or can you say wide ass open on here? He was wide ass.
Well, man,
he was wide ass.
That dude was wide ass open
and fumbled the ball. Hits the bottom of the rim. I mean, it was when I saw that, I started looking at the clock, call timeout, because I knew he was going to make it. He misses the shot. St. Joe gets the rebound, gets fouled with 0.6 on the clock. They go down, hit 2 free throws, they win by 3.
And this is further proof why high school needs a shot clock.
So
so this is the combined scores of teams this year was 103 points on average for the whole state of Indiana.
Oh my!
103 points. It's one of the lowest. It's one of the lowest figures and numbers in the last 50 years. And Brian Miller, who works for WSBT, and I talked about this. There's reasons for it. And number one, the reasons, I think more teams coach great defense now than ever before. And I think both teams can guard. For instance, Fishers was averaging 70 points a game, and they score 48 against a great Clint Swan's team, and they win 48-37. Now, Crown Point's averaging 68 points a game, 67 points a game.
So you figure they're going to run up and down the floor.
Yeah, but both of those teams defensively could really, really play. Ben Davis, Jeffersonville, 52-51.
Mm-hmm.
And I think another reason for the combined scoring down this year is the fact that the foul situation resets every time after the quarter, because if you're having a bad quarter in the old way and you commit 7 fouls in a quarter, that 1-and-1 now is for the rest of that half.
That's right.
And so I would say the free throw attempts
It would be
down
interesting
also.
to see what the number of free throws total.
Yeah, and so I don't think, and I don't believe this. I mean, I don't believe it's bad basketball. I just think that the defenses are so good, and the coaching is good, and they're saying just move the ball, let that other team play defense, let that other team play defense.
And so that's why where I was at Logansport, it was so enjoyable to watch the first game with Peru and St. Joe.
Yeah, 88-80.
88-80. Yeah, it was 88-80. Now, there were a lot of free throws. It was a foul fest.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of free throws in that game. But still, both teams scored 80 points.
Yeah, and so the pundits that say time for the shot clock, you know what? They're exactly right.
I know it.
They're exactly right.
Administrators don't like to hear it, and the IHSA doesn't want to hear it because they know it's another person at the scorer's table.
And Carmel would never win another game.
Yeah, but I think that as talented as these kids are now, because they play so much AAU, they play basketball all year round.
They use shot clock in AAU in the summer, don't they?
That it would be so enjoyable to watch the athleticism that some of these kids have. But now they're being coached up to say, hey, move the ball. And I agree. I mean, if I could go to the state championship game and win the semi-state game 38-36,
I'm going to do it.
I'm going to take that win anyway.
That's right. It's still a W.
Yeah. So I think a shot clock's coming, and whatever expense has to be incurred with the shot, I mean, the physical clocks and a run and a person to operate it, I say it's going to happen, and I say it's good for basketball.
I think so too. Well, we'll continue.
I
this.
just got a text from Chad in North Carolina.
Okay.
I'm supposed to ask you guys if you can identify this 1973 NAIA champion.
Oh my. What's it say on his jersey?
That's Guilford. Man, look at the shoulders on that cat.
Looks like a young Jimmy Butler almost.
It looks like Jimmy
Butler's
man.
dad.
It looks like Jimmy Buckets. Buckets.
North Carolina, I don't know.
It's Lloyd Free, World B. Free.
World B. Free.
Wow. The Philadelphia 76ers. Thanks, Chad. That's a great picture. World B. Free. Man,
and then before you guys go, we're not going to go through the whole bracket for the first weekend because there's so many games, but if you've had time to look through it and find an upset pick or find a dark horse game, what say you on that? Because
I like I'm going to stick with those 5-12s. You know what?
I think JMU might beat Wisconsin.
Well, I'm going to go Grand Canyon over St. Mary's just because.
I kind of think
just because it's Bryce Drew. Come on.
And Grand Canyon's played well. I'm going to do that simply because everybody's going with James Madison in their game. So I'm going to go over there and look at Grand Canyon in their 5-12 game over St. Mary's, which is over in Charlotte or Spokane. That's out west.
I mean, I would take that too without question. I would take both of those. And Gonzaga against McNeese State, I'm taking McNeese State.
I tell you, and I read someplace the 8-9 games are always fun. And I read where you take the team that's the favorite. So if the 9's the favorite, take them. If the 8's the favorite, take them. I've looking at some percentages of that.
Speaking of 8-9 games, we've got Nebraska and Texas A&M as my
isn't that something
I want people to watch.
I think that'll be a feature game. That's a must see.
It will be because I want the world to know about Keisei Tominaga at Nebraska.
He's fun to watch, isn't he?
He is phenomenal. He single-handedly killed Indiana the other day.
He just broke their spirit in that first half. They quit.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see Fred Hoiberg kind of come back.
Have some success.
I mean, he had this success at Iowa State. Then the late great Jerry Krause talks him into taking a job with the Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work out, and he goes to Nebraska then, and he's coaching him up in Nebraska, doing a nice job,
making it work.
And this is the opportunity for Nebraska. They are the only major Division I team that has never won a NCAA tournament game.
Oh boy,
they've never won a game.
I think you're going to see him win a game this year, and I think you're going to see Tony Letcher and Health Markets Insurance come to whatever needs you need help with, whether it's just your health insurance or Medicare. It's time you get the right coverage for the right price. Give Tony a call or visit his website at tletcher.com. And then Hahn Funeral Home, they're the absolute best. Pat Hahn does a great job, located at 505 West A Street, downtown Mishawaka. Give them a buzz at 574-255-1474. They are the funeral professionals. Magic Mind, man, get some of that, drink some of that, and, get in a flow state of mind. Frick's Driving School, man.
Frick's Driving School. Driver's ed. Everybody needs driver's ed.
Hey, I need it.
Everybody needs driver's ed.
Talk to my wife. She says I need it all the time, man.
There's a phone number across there, 256-0650. Give them a call if you're up here in Mishawaka, South Bend area.
The Black Sedan Band, and obviously great food here at Bar Louie. Stop in.
Yep, good place.
All right, man.
Hey, before you go, I got two more real quick things. I know you guys want to go. Northwestern FAU, roll with Northwestern because Boo Booey is going to score 40. And then I think Northwestern will be the only team until the Final Four that gives UConn a game. Other than that,
Chris Collins done a great job of coaching Northwestern. And you're right about Boo Booey. He's a really, really good player.
And then I just got a text
from Barnheiser. There's a Barnheiser player for Northwestern. Mark Barnheiser's son.
Third team all conference.
Yeah, really, really good. Really good.
And then John just texted me. He said, tell the guys Penn is expected to name a new football coach Wednesday.
And I wouldn't be surprised if it's already somebody on their staff who stayed and has been on that staff for a long time.
Wouldn't surprise me a bit.
Last thing. What do you think of Jake Diebler getting the full-time job at Ohio State?
I think he came in. I think he coached his brains out. I think those guys played hard for him, and I'm really, really happy. I'm happy for Chris Holtmann getting probably the world's toughest job at DePaul, because it's just been ever since Joey Meyer and the Ray Meyer eras and all that, it's just been a tough job.
Tough place.
But Chris Holtmann got to get some assurances that you're going to give our guys some money.
Yeah.
And if he can get some players in, then they may have a chance to win. But I think Jake Diebler has just done a great job.
Yep. I agree. Finish this up, Scott. Thanks.
All right. That's it. We'll see you guys next week. Subscribe, scan that QR code, go back on the YouTube video, scan it, join the league. You can join it up until the first games start on Thursday. So get on it, and we'll be back Monday.
All right. Thanks, Scott. You're the best, man.
Later.
The button.
To last throughout the year. So bring your good time and your laughter too. Where we gon' celebrate and party with you. Celebration. Let's all celebrate and have a good time. Yeah. Celebration. We gon' celebrate and have a good time.